You're listening to a weekly podcast made by Miami Dolphin fans for Miami Dolphin fans. Your source for entertaining Dolphin news, insight, and general conversation. Here's your host, Michael Fink.
Hey everyone, this is Mike. The Finfans podcast is part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. And it's Tuesday evening. I'm here with Jim Johnson.
Hey everybody.
And Louis Ergoni.
Hello, Dolphins.
Feeling better, Jim?
Yeah, not too bad. A little lingering cough, but I'll survive, I think.
All right, press mute if you got a cough, because it'll hurt my ears.
There you go. I won't blast you out.
Okay. So, as far as tonight's concerned, I got a question for you guys. Vegas, posted over-under right after the Super Bowl, and they put us at 5.5 wins. Now, obviously, it's early, but since that number's out there, what are your guess? You think we'll win 5 or more games?
I gotta
6 or more.
I gotta think that we'll win more than the 5.5. I mean, how many were we projected to win this past season?
It was the same number.
Yeah, was it really 5.5?
Yes,
wow.
I believe it was.
Yeah, well, I think we'll go with the draft and free agency and a little more direction. We're going to beat that 5.5.
Yeah, I'm on par with that. I'm going out to Vegas in May, and I will put money on the Dolphins to go over that.
Well, if they get 2 of that number might go up.
That could be.
It could very well.
Or down. Yeah, or down, depending
right.
on who you ask, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, depending on the SIP.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, a lot of things are going to change between now and May, I would think. Like, hopefully they have a good draft and a little more optimism, as far as what they can do. But a lot will depend on what they do in free agency, and we'll get into that a little later. The other thing I want to ask you guys, obviously Xavien Howard was cleared. They dropped the charges against him. If you're Miami, do you think you trade him at this point? And if so, what do you think they would receive back?
Boy, that's a tough question. Obviously, it's kind of a black eye for Howard to have that kind of problem on his resume. But he was cleared, so I can't see them wanting to jettison him off at this point. He's arguably their best player on the roster. I would be wanting to keep him on the team. We never probably will know exactly what happened with him, but I'd be wanting to keep him on the team. And if they did want to try to move him for whatever reason, if you look at what they got for other top-class players, I would assume they'd want to get another first-round draft pick for him if they were to try to move him.
Well, with his injuries the past couple of years, I don't think you'd get a first-round pick. I don't know. I don't know what he's worth. Healthy, I think you definitely would. Jalen Ramsey, I guess, what did he go for? A couple of number ones?
Yeah, he got 2 number ones.
Yeah, so I would think Howard's worth a number 1 at least, but that's if he's healthy.
Yeah, well, we have to assume that everything's on the up and up health-wise. So,
yeah. But
Tunzel was a first rounder, and Fitzpatrick was a first rounder, and Howard has proved himself, as a top cornerback in the league. So I would think that somebody would be willing to dish out a first rounder for him.
Well, they invested in him just last year, so their thoughts on him is that he's the type of player that they want around. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed him to that big contract last year. So the fact that they invested in him and they feel that he's the type of player that they want here, says enough. Now, obviously, he got hurt this year. That may factor in, but I don't know if you're going to get enough value back for him, Mike, for the reasons you just mentioned in regard to the injuries the last couple of years. So you have to weigh this out and say, okay, well, are you going to get true value back for the guy, or is it just better to keep him here? You have more than enough money, where I think I saw something where we have more salary cap money than anybody in the NFL right now. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Right. So, with that being said, I think he stays. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I don't think we would get true value for him because he's been injured. You're not going to get what they got for Ramsey, Jacksonville. It's not going to happen due to the injuries. So, with all that being said, again, he's going to be here. I think that he's a key to our defense next season. As long as he's healthy and he's playing at the level that he's capable of playing at, he's a building block as far as I'm concerned. You have to have him. Today's NFL, you have to have a shutdown corner if you're going to be a good, solid defense, and he is that type of player, healthy.
Right. So, the charges against him were dropped. Now, I don't know if the team paid off his girlfriend or fiance or, what exactly happened there, because she sounded adamant on the phone when we heard the 911 tape, so.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty damning, wasn't it?
Yeah, something happened between then and now. So, and that's why I asked the question, because to me, even though the charges were dropped and she, refused to press charges, it does paint him in a bad light, regardless. So, do they want that type of personality on the roster going forward? And that's debatable, Maybe because of his talent, they look the other way and they keep him exactly like you're saying, Lou.
Well, I'm not saying because of talent that, they sign him to a contract, Mike, because we've seen guys cast off that had a lot of talent that maybe didn't have the proper attitude. And that's why they were cast off. So, I think that when you invest in a player, you take all those things into consideration. It's not only the talent level, it's the type of individual that you want around for your football team. And as I said, obviously they felt that he was the type of guy they wanted around. I mean, he must have, he must be a character guy, a guy that works hard or whatever, else they wouldn't have made
you've never
the
heard anything else about him, to my knowledge.
Exactly. And, these type of things happen on a consistent basis. Nowadays it is what it is. I mean, it's, these guys are making a lot of money and, without saying the wrong thing here, there's just a lot of things that go on in regard to players and the women that they deal with. And it is what it is. There's a lot of gold diggers out there and there's a lot of bad situations. And I'm not saying that his wife, girlfriend, whatever she fiance is that type of individual, but these type of things happen. And sometimes it's not necessarily the players that are at fault in the situations. It is what it is. So
yeah, it's very messy. And is, like I mentioned, I don't know if we ever will really know what actually happened. And
well, we don't know what happened. I mean, there's no question about that. We don't know what happened. The only thing we know is her version of what happened. We did not hear his side of the story. But because, the charges were dropped, there's nothing he needs to explain. So we never will know his side of the story because of what I just said. Todd Gurley, do you guys think you'd be interested in taking on that contract if we got a second or third round pick from the Rams in addition to him in the contract?
I'm saying no to that. I don't like injured players. How many years is he in the league?
Not many.
Do either one of you guys know?
2 or 3.
No, I think he's farther along than that, Mike. I want to say 3 or 4.
Oh, maybe.
But, and he's been injured. He's been babied over the last year and a half. The Rams have babied him. I mean, you're looking at a situation where do you want to bring a guy in and do you want to invest in him? I mean, I think they're better off just, if they feel and obviously we do need a running back, and I'm sure they know that and they feel that way as well. You can draft one. We've got a couple second-round picks. I'd much rather them go that route and get a nice, solid young football player that has everything in front of him instead of a lot of mileage, behind him going forward. So, no, I don't want that money that comes along with him, nor do I want a player that's, like I said, been babied over the last year and a half. There's obvious problems there. So, no, I say no to that.
I'm in agreement with Lou on this one. I mean, he's obviously a good player, but he has had injury issues. And their Super Bowl run, he was like mysteriously not played for whatever reason. And the size of that cap number that he's going to require is too much for me to swallow. I'd rather draft a guy or put that money towards, a defensive end, an offensive tackle or whatever we need to do with it and draft, a running back and stay clear of somebody else's baggage.
He'll be going into his 6th season.
Wow.
Next year.
So he's longer than I thought.
Right. Absolutely. A lot of mileage on those legs.
Yep. Well, that kind of answers it right there. I mean, I think I agree with you guys. I was thinking more like 3 years, but 6 is a long time.
Well, no, 5 years, Mike. He'll be going into his sixth season. If we were to trade for him, he'd be going 5. Right. He's already got 5 years behind him.
Now, the question is, do you want to pay $10 million for a second-round pick? That's really what it boils down to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we want to do
I
that.
say no to that.
Yeah.
Again. No, Mike.
That's our go-to thing, right? No.
No, Mike, no.
You got to say it grumpy.
The answer is no. I think I'm going to have a few more no's for you as the show goes along.
Well, there isn't going to be much. Today's going to be a fairly light show.
Okay.
February 24th to March 2nd is the scouting combine. Everybody should know that. Obviously, you'll want to stay tuned to that on NFL Network and figure out who's going to get drafted high and all that kind of stuff.
Mike, have you ever watched it? Jim, have you ever watched that?
I do tend to watch the quarterbacks and that aspect of it, but as far as watching defensive and offensive linemen, no.
I watch it sporadically when I can keep track of it and there's something on that is a position group that I want to see some guys go, I'll tune into it. But it's on kind of often when I'm working, so it's not something that I can pre-record because I know it's a specific time frame. So I get to it when I can, but no, I don't go out of my way to sit in front of it all day.
Right. Well, I can tell you guys that I love football with a passion. And
well, I think we all do, Lou.
Right. I watch his. Well, let me finish my point, Jim.
Yeah, I know. No.
Yeah,
no. We're going to do the nose again. I watch a lot of different football shows on NFL Network and whatnot, and I have never watched the Combine. I have no interest in it. I want to see these guys on a football field playing against guys across the field from them, and that's it. I don't care how high a guy can jump. I don't care how fast he can run. I don't care how hard he can throw a football. I want to see him on the football field. And, you know, if history has taught us anything about that doggone Combine, is that there's no science to it. End of story.
Well,
I say no to the Combine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Zach Thomas was a 5th-round draft pick, so, you know, that's because of the Combine.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. I mean, it's all fun, and, you know, it's great. I mean, it's
boring as hell, really, honestly.
No, I'm saying it's fun for people that are, you know, that really just indulge into that and get all fired up about a lot of fluff. That's all it is. It's nothing but fluff. It's another big show. And
now, if they were playing the player interviews, you know, like when the GM is cross-examining them.
Oh, I'd love that.
I would watch.
Yeah, I'd probably be interested in that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, putting these kids on the mat, that would be all right. Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That I would watch. I want to see the quarterback, diagram plays and see his understanding of what he's doing. You know, that kind of stuff I want to see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Absolutely.
But the stuff they show, you know, I'm not really interested in broad jumps and all that kind of stuff.
Well, go ahead, Jim.
This is kind of on a side note here. You know, we're talking about this Combine and all these measurables, and that interview. You know, you'd think somebody would have asked Josh Rosen if he understand how defenses work. But it seems like that whole step was missed, and you base your draft selections on all of these metrics and. You know, it doesn't always translate. So, you know, it's there's more to it than just how fast they can run or how high they can jump.
Right. I mean, you're talking about quarterback right now, and just look at the guy. Look at Lamar Jackson and how far down in the draft he was drafted compared to the guys in front of him, and where is he compared to them right now as far as their development. So. You know, again, there's no science to any of this stuff. There really isn't. It is what it is.
Maybe there's too much science, actually.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, you watch these receivers, they go through the same skill type things that they throw at them. And after a while, I mean, it just becomes boring. Guy runs a pattern, he catches a ball, he's doing this, he's darting this way, he's darting that way, next guy up, next guy up, next guy. I mean, to me, it's just, it's just boring. It's nonsense to watch.
Well, you get to hear he's got loose hips and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
but,
right.
Look, to me, I'd rather put on a game tape and watch that. if I care about somebody. I would much rather do that, go back to his college tape and watch what you can, what's available.
Back to my point, Mike, about show me him on a football field. That's what I want to say.
Yep.
Not running in between cones.
Yep. No, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, guys, I wanted to break in here real quick just to ask a favor of you. On the app that you're listening on, if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to the podcast. Hit like, leave a comment on your thoughts of the show. And if you didn't know, we do run a Facebook group. It's Miami Dolphins #1. That's #1. We talk Dolphins football 24/7, 365. We'd love to have you join us and share your thoughts. And once again, we want to thank you for listening. Let's make it a habit. We'll see you next week. I wanted to talk for a minute about playing quarterback today versus, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. It's different. And that's why my expectations of the young quarterbacks are different. It used to be, even Marino, Lou, you had mentioned earlier, he came in, before the show, you mentioned it. He came in and even he sat on the bench for a little while. Quarterbacks back then generally sat. That was the rule. And they'd bring him along, and once they felt the quarterback had learned the offense and was up to speed, they'd put him in and start him. And he'd, fail or succeed from there. With today, you're seeing these rookies go out and start right away. You saw it in Buffalo, you saw it in New York, you saw it in Arizona. It's what they do. The young kids are getting drafted, and they're going out there and playing. And most of them are having some level of success. When you take a look at Josh Rosen, he has not had that success. Now, you can blame the team he was on in Arizona, and you can blame the team he was on in Miami. But I think that if you listen to the coaches and what they're saying about Josh Rosen's performance, what they're saying is he never had to identify the middle linebacker in Arizona or prior to that. He doesn't process the defense he sees fast enough. So he was more prone to getting sacked, and he was not necessarily making the right reads for that reason. You watch Brady or any of the upper echelon quarterbacks, and they drop back 3 steps, they throw it, it's out in 2.4, 2.5 seconds? That's the NFL now. It's not like it used to be where you take, a 7-step drop and you sit back in the pocket and bounce around and throw. That's not the game we're playing anymore. Everything now is quick tempo, and it's much easier. It's quicker reads. It's easier on the quarterback. They're not diagnosing like they used to be. It's a different game. If your young quarterbacks can't do what they're asking them to do today, it has to do with a mental process. They have to be quicker at reading what they're doing and understanding what they're doing. And when you watch Rosen or you watch the younger Tannehill, they did not process quick. And that's what it's all about. You have to be able to process what you see, first of all, before the snap, and then as soon as it's snapped, you have to react instantly to what you see. You can't be staring at the field and staring down your receivers and causing yourself a whole bunch of other problems and then ultimately getting sacked. It's just not how it works. So it's a quick-paced game. Lewis?
Is there a question in there somewhere, Mike?
Well, I mean, yeah.
I was deep in the thought because that was very, very good, that whole commentary there. But go ahead. I didn't hear the question.
I just think that people are so quick to make excuses for the quarterbacks. And look, you're not expecting a guy to come in and be, a Brett Favre right away or an Aaron Rodgers right away. You're not expecting that. But you are expecting him to come in and at least have some semblance of ability. A rhythm to his performance and, not taking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sacks a game,
Right. I mean, listen, my thoughts, we'll talk about Rosen real quick and then I'll move on from there. I mean, I have not been a fan of his and that's well known. I've talked about it on the show a million times. So I'm not going to go down that road, but here's the thing. I'm a firm believer in you either have it or you don't have it. And what I have seen of him and what I've seen of other quarterbacks in the league, you can look at them and you can pretty much tell over a short period of time whether they're going to be successful or not in the NFL. There are certain cases where guys do get better to an extent, but when you look at the guys that are in the league now, and you look at Watson, and you look at Mahomes, and you look at these type of football players, these type of quarterbacks, they're outstanding athletes. So not only are they doing a good job of reading defenses, Mike, but they're also adjusting to things that are thrown at them in a good way. I mean, listen, Fitzpatrick quarterbacking, this team did an exceptional job this year. And because Fitzpatrick has it. He has the capability to make plays and to adjust and to read defenses and make smart decisions. I haven't seen anything like that out of Rosen up to this point. I don't know if we'll ever see it. And there's a lot of quarterbacks around the NFL that fall into that category. Trubisky's struggling quite a bit. I mean, it's not only Rosen. There's other teams that
Carson Palmer was a guy who had that same struggle.
Right. Palmer was on and off, but Palmer was, a pure, pocket quarterback.
Right.
But
and so was Rosen.
If you look at the kid in Cleveland, God, his name's escaping me. I'm in Mayfield. I'm in baseball mode already, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mayfield, he struggled a lot this year. So, the thing is that with the quarterback position, he's 2 years into the league now, Rosen. He's going to go into his third season next year. He'll be in his third year. And I haven't seen anything different from him. They gave him an opportunity. He made a few good throws here and there, but he didn't do for the team what Fitzpatrick did the whole year. And that's the difference. I mean, you either have it or you don't have it, especially at that quarterback position. I mean, it's such a key position.
Well, you missed something that I think has to be said as well. When you're looking at Fitzpatrick as compared to Rosen, one thing you have with Fitzpatrick is he is a leader.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
and that's something that you can't teach, I don't believe. I don't think you can teach a quarterback how to lead.
No, and he's a very good leader. I mean, when you look around the NFL, and you guys can go team to team, and the enthusiasm that he pushes around that football field when he's on it at his age is incredible.
Crap kicked out of him, and he's jumping around and bouncing, and he's excited, and he's challenging the defense.
Absolutely,
and it's fun to watch.
Go ahead, Jim.
He's giving linebackers and safeties a shoulder and making a first down and taking a big hit and jumping up with a smile on his face. The team as a whole just eats that up and feeds off of it. And hey, if old Fitzy can do that, we're gonna rally around him and we're gonna get this win going. So
what you just said is so key because Marino had that.
Yeah,
Fitz has it. Other quarterbacks have it.
Breeze,
Aaron Rodgers. And what it is, it's that ability to motivate everybody around them just because of the way they play.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be, barreling over a defender. It might just be the way you quarterback and how you stay cool under pressure. Right. Whatever it is, it is.
Exactly. And for every Dan Marino or Brett Favre, there's 10 or 15 Ryan Leafs that just, they just can't make it happen.
More than 10 or 15, I think, Jim.
Well, I'm being kind, I mean, we see so many of these guys come out of college and they have all of these attributes and they're going to be the next coming of, Johnny Unitas or something. And they just never seem to go anywhere. And, I mentioned earlier with Rosen, I don't want to beat this horse anymore, but if you've got a quarterback, mind you, that can't read a defense, that should have been a huge red flag. So, having him to start digesting the NFL defenses is, that's a big handicap for him to overcome. So you can't be thinking about that after you've snapped the football.
And I said to somebody today, if you struggle reading defenses, and look, it's not a crime. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks do.
Yep.
But if you struggle reading defenses, what do you think you would do in your off season? You would think you'd go back, you'd study film, and you get better at it. You get better at recognizing what you're seeing and what they do out of different looks and all those kind of things.
Exactly.
And, it's a process and it takes work. It doesn't just happen overnight, But, I would think if you want to be a quarterback and you're going through your high school and college, career, you would really take that in as much as you can. Now, obviously, they're busy with schoolwork and other things, so it's not like they can do it 24/7, but they should make time to do it and try and ask questions of the coaches and learn as much as they can learn. These guys can make contacts. It's not that hard. They got, professional athletes that went to the same college they went to. They can ask questions and, if they really want to do it, they can do it, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And, with Rosen, he had a season, and I talked about this too. He had a season to get up to speed with what the NFL is all about. He had a situation when he came here to where he already had his feet wet in the NFL. He understood the speed, and he understood that, listen, this is what's going to be thrown at me. Okay, I've got all these games underneath my belt. Great. I didn't have the best team around me, but the bottom line is you're still getting experience, and that's a key. And, coming into this year, I just didn't see anything different from him than I did the season prior in watching football games.
Yeah, nor did I.
I think he'll be an average quarterback. He'll probably be a backup his whole career. I don't ever see this guy becoming a starter, whether it be with us or anybody else. It's just my opinion, but I don't see anything out of him more than that. And there's a lot of guys I feel that way about. I mean, listen, guys, you can go back to a guy like Vinny Testaverde, who was coming out of college. I mean, he was supposed to be the next great thing. Yep. And in my opinion, Testaverde had a very average career. He had decent seasons, and then he had bad seasons. He played for 8 different teams when it was all said and done. So, I mean, again, it's very difficult to play quarterback in the NFL is a very, very difficult thing to do at a high level for a long period of time. And there's very few guys that are capable of doing it. And when you look at a guy like Mahomes, you say, this guy has it. When you looked at Marino, you said, this guy has it. You looked at Elway, this guy has it. I don't see that in him. I just don't see it.
Yep. And that's it. I mean, exactly right. That's it. You have to see it. And if you're investing in young kids, you have to see it. Otherwise, there's no point because it's a maybe. And, we don't have time for maybes. You can wait 7 years for a maybe.
Right. And
you've got to find the guy. And that's so if I sound tough on quarterbacks, I am. I don't have the patience all you people have that want to wait, 5, 6, 7 years. Not me.
You can't, Mike. You can't even. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
It's no worries. I just kind of chuckled about the patience thing. That whole that whole Tannehill experiment really burned up our patience pool. But
Henny was the same thing. He was here 4 years. I knew after year 2 he was shit.
I know. We've often said, hey, you might as well draft a quarterback every year till you get it right. But the biggest thing, getting back to that whole combine issue, there is no measurement for 2 things that are the biggest factor for a quarterback: the desire and the it factor that you guys are just talking about. You have to physically see that on the football field.
That's right.
And, the combine is fantastic.
You can't fake it.
Yeah. I mean, for talent, fantastic. But you got to translate it to the football field. And
right. You can't measure that at the combine.
Right. I do want people to understand something. That doesn't mean the quarterback's going to come out and throw 4 touchdowns a game. The surrounding talent matters. Okay? The team around him matters, but it should not matter to the point where it's an excuse for horrible performances.
Absolutely.
And that's the difference.
Especially week in and week out.
Right.
Agreed. We saw what Fitzpatrick did with this team. Injury after injury, guys going down. He was still making plays, moving the offense. You didn't see that with Rosen. You saw us struggling over and over again.
Right. And he was physically laboring. You could, nothing was smooth. It just wasn't smooth. And that's what you want to see. We may get stopped, but you want the quarterback to look like he knows what he's doing. Hitting the open receivers and, moving the ball down the field as much as possible. It's not to say he's going to score. It's not to say he's going to have 80 yard drives, but look like you know what you're doing.
And keeping us in games.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even when we fell behind, I mean, Fitzpatrick did it over and over again. We'd fall behind. He'd keep us in games to where it was somewhat entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, the thing is this, okay? As you're as you're watching these football games, okay, you know, you have to understand what's going on out there. You know, you can't sit here and make excuses for guys. And
not at that position.
No,
it's too important.
There's no, in today's NFL, there's no patience or time. Do you want to see another whole new coaching staff come in here in 2 years from now because we made a mistake on sitting on a guy like a Rosen or a quarterback? Mike, you mentioned Chad Henne. Yep. I mean, they cause guys to get fired when you make decisions like that. And year in and year out, you say, you know what? This is going to be my guy, you know, and it just doesn't happen. I mean, all of that stuff goes hand in hand. The quarterback makes the players around him better. Okay. And sometimes you can do that without an awful lot of talent. Fitzpatrick proved that this year, and I keep using him as an example.
How many
only
years
because
did Marino
he's right
do it,
here.
Lewis?
Right, Marino did it over and over again too. Sometimes the guy that's running the show will bring everybody up to his level, and that's what happened this year. We were still able to be successful. I felt the offense with no running game, that they were able to move the football and compete. That's all you want to do. Right. And the quarterback's the key to that. And
with a bunch of kids that had never played NFL football before, they were competitive.
Right, exactly. And again, I know I keep using Fitzpatrick as an example, but you mentioned Marino, there's numerous examples all around the league.
People are going to feel throwing Rosen into that company is unfair, but it's not unfair if that's what your target is. If your target is to have a franchise QB, then it's not unfair.
Absolutely. I mean, Luck is another recent example of that. I mean, he had T.Y. Hilton, but
Wilson.
Past him, what did he have, guys? I mean, you know, he made some of those tight ends become much better football players than they actually were. He made them look great.
Yep.
And he did that with some of the other receivers that played behind T.Y. He moved that football team on a consistent basis. It was a very it's comparable to what Fitzpatrick did with us. The Colts haven't had really great running back. Do you guys know the running backs that were there can you name any of them when Luck was there that were, you know, somewhat decent running backs?
Not off the top of my
Gore,
head. No.
Gore. I know Gore was there for a while, right?
A while, yeah.
Right. I mean, but they had run. What I'm saying is that he made everybody around him better. He's another good example of that because he had that it about him. You know, he had that thing. Yep. You know, and like Jim mentioned, you can't measure that at the combine. There's no way to measure what, you know, that type of thing. You know, they have leadership.
You look for a guy who wins in college.
Right.
You look for a guy that won in high school, and hopefully he'll win in the pros, and that's how you do it. There's no guarantees, but you know, if he does the part physically, and he has a history of winning, then he's probably a guy you can take a chance on.
Right, but not to disagree with you on that, Mike. But in college, you can be surrounded by great coaching.
Right.
A great college system and great football players around you, and it'll make the quarterback look much better. In the NFL, you know, you can't do that. In college, you can, and because we've seen it. We've seen guys excel at the college level and just fail horribly at the NFL level. So, you know,
but I'm saying it's something you look for. I'm not saying that you're going to be right all the time. There's no science or formula that will make you right all the time when it comes to quarterbacks.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right. And that's my point is that, you know, there is a way of, you know, with quarterbacks in college, you can somewhat get away with, you know, looking much better than you actually are. In the NFL, you're out there and you're exposed every week. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more even playing field at the NFL level. You don't have, you know, a stacked team that's, you know, Alabama or something or Ohio that's always gets the premier players every year. So it's, you know, the NFL talent is spread all around the league. So.
Yep. All right, guys. Anything else you want to add today?
Did you cover all our topics, Mike?
I did.
That was pretty quick.
I told you it was going to be a quick show.
Wow, look at that. We always miss something.
No, we don't.
Not always. That falls on Mike, and I think he took offense to that, Jim.
Nah,
I'm just fine. If I wasn't fine, you would know it.
I was going to say, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right.
There has been an occasion where we've missed something, but it certainly doesn't happen all the time. All right, so that's going to be it for this week's show. When we come back next week, we'll start talking about some free agents and maybe guys we'd like to see Miami target.
When does the free agent period start, Mike?
March.
March? Okay.
Yeah, it's
middle of March.
17th or something,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Middle of March. So we got a month.
Yep.
And I'm sure our coaching staff is working diligently as we speak.
I am sure they are, and I'm sure the scouting department is. They have guys that are responsible for scouting the league.
Mm-hmm.
That's what those scouts get paid to do. And they've got a write-up on everybody, so, they'll know what these guys are. It's just a matter of what they become when they move into your building.
That's right.
All right, so we'll be back probably next Tuesday if everything goes according to plan. And thanks for joining me, guys, and everybody, thanks for listening. And fins up.
Good night. Fins up.
Fins up, Dolphins.
All right, so that's our show for this week. I just want to remind everyone that the Finfans podcast is part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.